Hi everyone, it's a pleasure to be here today in Buenos Aires in Argentina, and I've been asked to summarize a few points that might be relevant in terms of CLL management in Latin America. And a lot of points have been brought up here during this meeting from different groups regarding what's first of all relevant for patients in CLL research and in CLL management. Also regarding endpoints and what endpoints are relevant for patients. And we discussed a lot that we feel that surrogates of patients' well-being are very relevant. Things like time to next treatment as good secondary endpoints, as indicators of really active relapses, we all felt are very meaningful for both patients and practitioners. We also discussed a lot the limitations of PFS as an endpoint on the one hand, but on the other hand, the good objective measure that PFS provides as a compromise in terms of running feasible clinical studies. Other points that were brought up in the discussions and that we all felt are very relevant is the question of assessing high-risk disease. When is it really necessary to do FISH testing, measuring deletion 17p presence or TP53 mutational status? What about IGHV status? These points were brought up a lot, and we discussed whether it is still relevant to do these measurements. And it seems that in terms of being key prognostic markers, even in the context of targeted treatments, that these measures should be still measured regularly in clinical care whenever possible in order to really make informed decisions with the patients in terms of what treatment to choose, but also in terms of how to design the post-treatment surveillance and to give robust prognosis and estimates to the patient as to whether a relapse might occur within the next 2 years or actually in the next 5 to 6 years. And then another key aspect that we discussed was the role of chemotherapy, of course. Chemoimmunotherapy has been a standard of care in CLL for so long now, and of course targeted treatments in various randomized studies have shown that they work very well in all sorts of contexts. Even in the low-risk disease setting, it seems that agents like venetoclax, obinutuzumab, or ibrutinib bring at least as good efficacy as FCR, and therefore it seems that targeted agents generally are always a good alternative, and they bring key advantages even in the setting where, for instance, FCR works very well in the mutated IGHV status, where we see that both ibrutinib as well as venetoclax, obinutuzumab in a fixed duration way are much less associated with secondary malignancies. The key challenge and disadvantage of FCR that comes along with its good efficacy, the fact that patients experience clinically highly relevant secondary AML and other heme malignancies that at the end are much more impactful on the prognosis of the patients than at the end the CLL. And therefore we all felt that when possible, the choice of targeted treatment might be more sensible in most settings, even in the low-risk setting with mutated IGHV status. But again, it comes down to availability of these targeted agents, and we all felt that it is still necessary to find ways to implement more targeted therapies in regular clinical care in settings where we have really good randomized evidence that patients actually benefit from these approaches. So there's still a lot for us to do in terms of optimizing individualized treatment care, but also improving access to these targeted agents, provided they are proven to be effective and beneficial for the patients. So a lot of work for all of us to do internationally and also here in Latin America. So a huge pleasure for me to be here with so many friends and colleagues here in Latin America. Thank you very much.